Welcome to the Lighthouse Conversations, a podcast featuring entrepreneurs and tastemakers from the worlds of arts, culture, tech, and of course food. I'm your host, Hasham Muntasir. If you're joining us for the first time today, well, you're in for a treat. But first, please make sure you hit the follow button in your podcast app to get alerted when we have new episodes. You can listen to our extensive catalog of episodes on our website, thelighthouse.ae/podcast. I'm joined today by the women behind one of the region's most iconic brands, Bokja. My first encounter with the brand was 2 decades ago. Yep, 2 decades, at ABC Carpet and Home. This was when I lived in New York City, and ABC was this cool store that was a few blocks away from my apartment, so I would walk there on the weekends and check out what's new. I remember the Bokja pieces with their pastiche look leaving quite an impression, and clearly not just on me, but also on the likes of Madonna, Kate Hudson, and Monsieur Louboutin. But it wasn't until just a couple of weeks ago at Design Days that I met the designers behind Bokja, Huda Baroudi and Maria Hibri, when they had their installation, Let's Talk About the Weather, up in Dubai Design District. The installation was sort of a boxing ring, where the audience was invited to adorn a punching bag with written notes of what they hated the most. As you can imagine, my list was very, very long. Ladies, what a pleasure to have you here. We're going to go back and talk about how you met, but I first want to talk to you about something. When I first met Bokja as a brand, the very obvious connotation for me was storytelling, which seems to sit very comfortably at the heart of this brand. Tell me more about that. Was that a conscious decision from the beginning? Did it evolve? How did it become storytelling so central to what you've done? Huda, maybe you can start.
It's very interesting that you mentioned this because when we started, it wasn't about storytelling. It was more about trying to put something on the table that we never saw before. We came from a visit to Central Asia. We saw something that blew us off.
You went to Central Asia together on that visit?
Yeah.
Okay.
We saw something that, my God, I mean, the juxtaposition of the fabrics that they mix, the naivete, the strong colors, the mixes. I mean, a single coat would have I think a year worth of work with juxtapositions that were so unexpected that blew us both off. And it so happens that we're both, like you were saying before we started all this, the podcast, that we're both very curious. And we always jump at anything that comes right in our laps. So we just amassed loads of fabrics, loads of coats, loads of...
Did you know at the time what you would do with the fabrics?
Nothing.
No, you just amassed them.
Nothing. We came back and it just sold the way it is. It just sold. And in no time we were on the plane back to Central Asia, came back, and then ideas started coming up because there was a lot of torn pieces, a lot of torn out pieces. We felt so sorry to just throw them away. And by nature, both of us are very frugal and very, what's the word? We can't just throw embroidered stuff.
Once we were presenting something at the institute, a talk at the Institut du Mode Arabe, and they would present us as the Shahrazad of the Middle East. But except we killed Shahrayar, just we didn't wait for it. But because in the very nature of our work and our personality is the storytelling, but we learned it when we chose the name for our work, which is Bokja, Bokja. It's where you put around, it's a piece of fabric that's usually embroidered by the family for the daughter to put inside the dowry when she becomes a bride, her dowry. So, and there is a lot of, love.
That's what I meant. That is at the heart of it. I mean, it's a story already.
Yeah,
right?
it's a
so
story.
The name is a story.
And it's a woman's story, and it's about a family telling their own narrative and expressing their love and aspiration for their daughters in this format. So, and from these fabrics that we started collecting, we learned a lot. It was fascinating to see that it's not one woman in the family who does it. It's the women, I'm talking about the Suzannes here, they worked them as panels, and then when it's time by different members of the family, and when it's time for the girl to be married, they put them together and they become one piece. So that was the beginning of it all, and I feel that since I was doing antiques and Huda started collecting fabrics before I did. But I was always fascinated by fabrics, by textile in general, because there is so much emotion in textile.
Is it because it's tactile? What fascinates you about fabrics?
It's time, and it's hand embroidered. Nothing humbles you more. The intricacy of the work, the fact that it's never completely finished, that it's always, when there is a mistake, sometimes they do it deliberately or they own it, but when it's deliberate because they are afraid from the evil eye, because only God is perfect. So it's interesting because it liberated us afterwards when not to make perfect pieces, to embrace the imperfection.
With textiles, what fascinates us, I don't know if I'm saying this in hindsight or that's how I saw it at the time. It's so long time ago. Each country I lived in had its own textile that tells you a lot about the culture, about the woman in this culture. In Lebanon, we have this very strongly. I lived in the Gulf, I lived in the States. And the thing about Central Asia, their embroiderers were really, like Maria said, yani storytelling par excellence. The woman just sit and start embroidering by hand for the bride-to-be. I mean, what more love can they give?
You know what's so interesting to me about this is that it's very obvious that when I remember first seeing the piece, I'm trying to remember, I actually remember what it invoked in me. And there were two thoughts. The first one was, obviously, this has a memory. But you've taken a memory that's textile, this piece of embroidery, it all has its memory, its own history. You've taken it, you've appropriated it, and you've brought something out from the other side. Because you're putting something together, it becomes like a pastiche, and then something else comes out. But it starts with a memory, and that memory gets almost reworked by you.
That's exactly what we plan to do. That's exactly.
And I feel you are in a practice that is well-traveled, especially in Lebanon. So I'm an art enthusiast and lover, and a lot of Lebanese artists, especially in photography, have done this kind of work. Akram Zaatari, for example, has taken the work where he has, archival photographs. So there's a preservation element, but there's an appropriation and manipulation element. And what came out is fascinating. I wonder if this has to do with your history as Lebanese women growing up in Lebanon. If you feel so, I'm interested. Or it was just an instinct? Because to me, that's very much at the core of this brand.
In my family, embroideries have always been essential. And my mother had her Bokja when she got married. She made sure each of her 3 daughters had their own Bokja with all these embroidered linen, nightgowns, tablecloths. So I received one. But this all goes into drawers. What do you do with it in modern times? But there was so much love and attention in it. I knew that I need to preserve them for my own daughter, because that's what we do. And some of them came from my grandmother. I still wear her nightgowns today because they're hand embroidered by her.
Amazing.
And I sleep on a pillow where there is her Anisa. The A of Anisa is on the pillow. And so precious because I feel so much comfort in it. It hugs me. But how do you give it to this next generation who is in such a hurry? The times are so different. So what we tried to do initially was to preserve that tradition, but to reinvent it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're preserving and reinventing.
So when when you give a piece of cloth, a fabric that's 100 years old, you apply it on an Eve's chair, and you tell your daughter, you want this? Of course she wants it. If you give her the fabric, she'll put it in the drawer. So that was the process at the beginning. Let's give them new life. Let's bring them back and celebrate them. And that was our aha moment, that these frames also have existed, the old frames, and they were not anymore in fashion. But for us, everything has a reason to exist and to persist in its existence. It's how you see it.
Did you have a particular customer in mind, or were you just working by instinct? Yani, were you saying, what we're going to now design and fabricate and put out is going to be liked by X, or no? This didn't come up.
When we started, we were not even wanting to start anything, actually.
Yeah.
We just came
Just
back
working.
with it. We just collected for our own
Yeah.
pleasure.
We were our own customer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
That's a
great way to
we
start a
had
business, by the way.
ourselves in mind. Every time a piece would leave, if we are really in love with it, we will come to accompany it. Because if it's traveling outside Lebanon, we will just be there and waving it goodbye and making sure where it's going to be. We ask for pictures.
When did
It's
you
our
know it was a
baby.
business? It was no longer a passion.
Listen, what happened was we got it for our own pleasure, just showed it to family and friends, they just grabbed them. So the second time we started on our journeys, we started formulating an idea, but then it is when we made our first piece. I go back to the first piece. It was when we went to the second-hand market.
What was the first piece?
The first piece ever was a chair.
Chair, interesting.
And at the time,
I was gonna say sofa.
like 25 years ago, it was fashionable to take old frames and color them strong colors.
Okay.
And that time we were walking in Basta and we saw a chair that was painted blue. And we still have that chair, that's why I'm mentioning it.
You have the first piece? You still have it? You didn't
Actually,
sell
it's
it.
at my sister's. She
Okay.
bought it, but I have the pleasure of seeing it all the time. And we looked at each other, and I remember that was the aha moment. We looked at each other and we said, that piece will go on that chair. And that's when we started having the idea of doing this pop-up. Maria had a nice store at the time, and I think that's the one you visited in, but where was it?
No, it's a flower shop. I had a flower shop. I was a florist.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
I was a florist, and then I used to go to the United States for 7 years and get containers of second-hand furniture and antiques and sell them in my flower shop. So this is how I learned about the form. And I would do like a hit-and-run situation, 3 days. People will come, grab it, and then they
Khalas.
go with it. Sometimes they would regret it, but there was, because there was a momentum. And I have a passion for things that not necessarily have value, if you want, but have
Emotional
create
Sentimental and
emotion.
emotional
And I learned also that through that business that I used to do, that if you love something, when you buy it, you're convinced of it, and you want to buy it for you're even reluctant to be parted with it. People get it, and it's easy to sell. It's really easy to sell. So I remember I heard that Hoda went to Uzbekistan and got these fabulous textiles.
Were you friends? Were you close friends?
No,
No, you were
no,
not.
no.
So what attracted you to each other?
I went to visit her show. It was in her house.
Okay.
And I was, whoa, these textiles, a world has opened up in front of me. And I invited Huda to come to my flower shop to discuss things. I thought we would have an exhibition for her textile
At your shop?
at my shop, because it was a nice, interesting,
Very
big,
beautiful store.
Yeah, I invited her to come, and we were just seated there, and there were remains of our furniture, my furniture, and she had brought some textile, and it made sense. It just made sense, and another time it made more sense for me on a personal level. It's when my grandmother passed away, and she was someone who was an entrepreneur, and she hated waste, and she always was solution oriented, and she used to encourage embroideries in the family, and she created her own NGO for the family, and it was all around embroideries by the women of the family. So we all came together, the children and the grandchildren, to see what we want to take from her house. That's how was the invite about that. And there was this very heavy salon, heavily carved, that they used to make in Tripoli at the time. Nobody wanted it. It was actually ugly. And I told Huda, shall we take it? Just let's take it. And we painted it in different colors, and we Bokja-diced it. And it went, I think it was 6 pieces. Each piece went to a different country. I kept the sofa. It was sold in the States, in Singapore at the time. I saw one in the house of a friend here in Beirut, in Kuwait. So I could imagine my grandmother smiling from above. Said, "Way to go, Maria! You did the right thing."
But also would find things thrown in the street, reject chairs, reject sofas. We really started taking them, reinventing them, and I think now when people talk about sustainability and...
You were so ahead of the curve.
And we didn't know the name.
You didn't label it.
I remember a friend of ours called us one day. She said, "Listen, there is a whole set of furniture thrown for next to the garbage in our neighborhood. It looks like you girls." And I said, "It's funny, Hoda, the connotation of garbage and Bokja, how flattering is it?" And we had a van for my flower shop at the time, so we were quick to act. We sent the van to the garbage dump, and we got the whole set. I remember we paid like $100 for the garbage.
The guy who was carrying.
The garbage guy, because he had already loaded them. And they came, we called it Lucky, and it sold everywhere. It traveled.
You know, it's very funny because at the time, we're not allowing you to ask. I'm sorry.
No, but that's the whole point.
Okay. So we're storytellers.
Exactly.
So at the time, Paulette Cole of ABC Carpet and Home in New York, it was the only concept store in the world that made sense.
I remember. I lived 2 blocks away from it.
I mean, for me, going there was really would
Something
go there,
else.
something else, and we were lucky. She happened to see a piece of our work, and she called us. I remember.
No, Hoda, the story. Wait, it's a good story.
The what?
No, we decided that we're going to New York. We need to conquer ABC.
لا كده قصة. The story is much better. Hold on, you cut the story.
Wait.
I'm with you.
No,
Yeah,
wait.
Please, go with your
Stay
story.
with me.
أيوة
Stay
طبعا
with
I'm gonna
me.
stay with you.
I have a better one.
القصة يعني.
No, and it's like.
No, go ahead.
So we made a small catalog, purple colored, very small.
Ya Allah.
But we paid a lot of money for it. At the time, it was important not to waste money, and so
It's always important not to waste money.
yeah, but it was absolutely. So,
You just gotta put this out there.
we went to New York. We just went to ABC Carpet and Home, and we asked, "Where are your offices?" The doorman. I say, "Ma'am, our offices are not here. You cannot come without an appointment, blah, blah, blah." And so we looked at each other and I said, "Ya Allah," in Arabic. And the guy, "Oh, you're Lebanese." I said, "Yeah, we're Lebanese." I said, "Don't say to anyone I told you. It's on the 7th floor." So we went to the 7th floor. We gave them our small catalog, said, "This is us. We are from Lebanon. If you're interested, we wanted to play it cool, call us." And we gave them a phone number. And of course, in Bokja tradition, we gave them a wrong number.
No, but
we had the wrong number. We had an American number, and we had the wrong number. So they never called us. We would wait, like whenever someone.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Maria.
Don't
Maria,
use the
that
phone.
was for the actress.
No.
The wrong number was for the actress. For Paulette, it was the right number. Because
But they never called us. We went back and they
In
said, "Where
Lebanon.
are you? We've been trying to call you."
How did they find you then?
No.
طب اشرحي لي, how did they
She
didn't
was in a
call
dinner
us.
party. Yes, Paulette called.
We went there
Anyway.
to retrieve our catalog. We went to retrieve our catalog.
And they told
because
us-
the catalog, we said we don't want to leave our catalog there.
Babe, can I just ask, if you gave them the wrong number, how did she find you? I'm very...
She didn't find us.
We went back. We went
back.
We went back because the catalog was expensive.
You want to take
We
the
wanted
catalog
to
back.
bring back the
That's
catalog.
fantastic.
And
That's
when
a
we
great
arrived
story.
there...
Look, أقول لك حاجة, sorry about that. I don't care if the story is true or not. It's still fantastic.
No, it's true. It's true.
And I'm
It's
all
true.
about telling the story.
contradicting me.
The story...
I'm losing little facts.
I
Go ahead.
swear to you, it's true.
Story's great.
I know the story.
No, the best part of the story is that you went back and you're like, okay guys, well you don't, بس معلش ممكن الكتالوج تاني لأن الصراحة يعني
No.
بعد
And I was
إذنك
like-
بس لي الكتالوج.
And they thought at the time when
That's
we said,
great.
okay, I said, "Where are you girls? We've been trying to call you." "Oh, we're here." And so they said, "Okay, we're interested." They thought we come from this indigenous country. We don't know that we're creating something pretty, but they spotted us. And so we came back running home, did the order. I remember, because we still have the email till today. It was a small order, I think 17 pieces. And then we got an email saying Kate Hudson came to the shop and bought 4 pieces. We want a container, and then it never stopped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm going to be honest, this might be the first time in 3+ years of doing this podcast that I've barely been able to put in a word. We'll hear more from Huda and Maria, including how the current situation in Lebanon has become part of their design voice, so to speak, right after the short break. Welcome back. I'm Hashim Montasser, and you're listening to the Lighthouse Conversations and my conversation with Huda Baroudi and Maria Hibri, the women behind the iconic brand Bokja. So after Kate Hudson came other high-profile orders, including a project with Madonna and Christian Louboutin.
You know, it's funny because my sisters would not take our work very seriously. It was too loud for them, maybe. And for a lot of Lebanese people, we were only started being legit when we started existing at Louboutin. Oh, you're the real deal.
Yeah, Arabs love brands. We love attaching ourselves to. Yeah, it's yani. So only, it's like when we opened next to the Apple store and Rolex, people are like, oh, the Lighthouse. I'm like, we've been here for 5 years.
Not
but
bad.
Now, because I'm in the vicinity of Rolex and Apple and Dior and all of that, we kind of started it's amazing. I mean,
people still remember us at Louboutin, and we are a museum. We are at the Institut du Monde Arabe.
Yeah.
But they remember
They
us.
still think of Louboutin.
But it's
that's fine.
It's fine because we love the light part of Bokja. It's loaded. It has a lot of information. And more when we started using embroidery and it became a vehicle, a voice, it was our way of protesting and, and celebrating things.
So when did you know you had a brand? And what happened from there? So obviously you started
Miami,
experimenting. And then you started getting some success. And
Tell the story of Miami so I won't contradict you.
You were there. I mean, obviously we're getting a lot of press.
Are you like an old couple who always,
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, but it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's
okay.
Fun. But it's like an old couple, but it's not old as in age, old as in you've been together for a long time. But it's dysfunctional just enough for it to be fun. And it's not dysfunctional where it's like,
Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. The energy is good.
You need counseling.
Alpha, it's just a little bit of the dysfunction that you need in a couple, which I love. But the relationship is fine. You guys are fine. If you want me, this is completely outside of the podcast, to come in as a couple therapist.
No, we've had someone
on a no-fee basis.
Let's not go there. Let me tell them about...
Let's not go there for now.
Yeah.
So when did you know you had...
We had a nice break because the organizer of Miami, the art fair, visited a guy in Kuwait. His name is Majid Subah.
I remember who had the Villa Moda.
And Villa Moda was really brand filthy. It was every single, name it, he had it. What happened was, she told him, you're looking and I want this piece. I want this piece and I want this to come to Miami. And then all of a sudden we see a group from Kuwait coming in and asking us.
Once the Kuwaitis come, it's all over.
No, but then I have to tell you, he had the nicest spot in the art fair, and he put us with a beautiful artist, lighting artist. That is really, she was really up there. And I think it was then when the FT did the spread on us.
I remember that FT spread.
And then, when How to Spend It did the article on us, it was good.
And How to Spend It article.
Oh my God.
Very, very well.
And suddenly...
did we change?
Not at all. Zero. حلويته يعني مع الوقت.
That's so sweet. How to Spend It was pivotal in the sense that how they described us was not... Yeah, but we didn't know that they saw a dimension in us we were not aware of. And then suddenly we felt responsible. That this is serious and we need to be up to it. We need to also have a strategy. It almost backfired, the fact that we had to send a container to ABC every 6 months because it's a 40-foot container and they would kept asking and we were just like...
So how did you handle the logistics and the operations?
We're mad. How we used to work is insane.
We stayed till 10 in the evening with the upholsterer. We'd work long hours. We'd scarred. يعني really, the second-hand market, they take us places, weird places.
How did your families feel about this? Were they?
Our kids were growing.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
wasn't
they
just-
saw you in action. Your
My
kids saw you.
daughter is doing therapy now about abandonment.
Yeah, fair. بس بضحك. Can I just tell you something? She would have done therapy anyway. At least يعني. Look, we all need therapy.
but they're
يعني.
very proud.
But I tell you something nice.
I
What
love
last
it.
thing, not
But
only
you
that.
abandoned her for good cause. يعني مش بس you abandoned her for
No,
you
but
know.
For
Also,
the
will you
financial
take-
time, for the
You
financial
abandoned
time.
from how to spend it.
No, but
I would
then-
completely. I'm going to say this on the record. My son will not like it, but I will totally abandon my firstborn for how to spend it. أكيد يعني. It is such a given.
So that
Sorry,
was the
Abudi, I
step.
love you, but يعني how to spend it is how to spend it.
It gave us a jolt. Oh, girls, take yourself seriously. However, at the time, also, we met this guru. Her name is Lee Edelkoort. Lee Edelkoort is a guru. She's the director of Eindhoven, but also she's a trend forecaster. And everybody in the design world at the time was taking her. I mean, she was God. And she came to the show in Miami and loved the piece and bought it. And then very soon after, she asked us to send her a piece for a museum. She gave us a room in a museum in Eindhoven. Oh my God, that was really something that, I mean, it was.
Yeah, she thinks that
Fantastic.
she still thinks that we represent something in the history of design.
100%.
And she also think that the fact that we are two women working together is something very interesting. But to come back to the idea of our kids grew up with this, and we used to take them to in our travels to hold the bags when we will be here. So
But what a fantastic role model. and they saw you working all the
they
time.
saw us
yes.
working,
Non-stop.
and they know about passion. They learn that passion takes you places.
Takes you places,
And so, and we used to work in an old palace. It was next to my house, and it was. That palace is so much of our story because it was the squatters of the palace were a carpenter and an upholsterer, and
It's such an Arab story.
Yeah,
There's
and-
always a squatter.
Yeah. And that we met them, and the palace had no roof in most of the part of it, and it was falling apart. So
You asked the squatters
Yeah.
to make the roof for you.
No. But
No,
it
they-
was our
Double.
headquarters for 15 years.
Amazing.
We would go there, and these pieces that are traveling. I remember when Julia Roberts bought this set, and I knew that she was breastfeeding because I read it in a magazine. I said, "Oh my God, she's sitting on our sofa breastfeeding. If she only knew the conditions of the sofa and the palace."
No,
where
our
there
conditions were miserable.
Yeah, there was because they had a family of rabbits at the time, and the palace.
This is fantastic. The squatters, the rabbits, and Julia Roberts.
No, because at the time
I hope she hears
there was
this.
a little farm in the palace also, and there
If
was.
she sends the sofa back, don't be surprised. لو جالك بكره تليفون من ريا
Julia, keep the sofa,
Yeah, Julia,
please.
keep the sofa.
We know where
No returns possible.
No, but wait, Kate Hudson, who bought the first piece, we never miss a movie for Kate Hudson.
Because of that?
I told my children never ever miss a movie of Kate
After
Hudson.
she bought your...
Because she was the one who triggered everything.
Yeah.
Kate Hudson is Kate
Yeah,
Hudson. She
that
doesn't
was
know,
2000.
but
Thank
she's
you,
our
Kate.
hero. But also the problem is at the time when all these stars bought us, there was no Instagram. We couldn't tag them. ABC, they didn't want us. They didn't want to use our name. They would say it's the ABC collection. But after Miami.
خلاص, you
and
became a brand, they wanted your
No,
name.
there was a big moment. We were in the FT.
No, you have to hold your horses.
Yeah. We took the FT and we asked for a meeting. Actually, we asked
I
for a
feel
meeting.
outgunned. This is the first time. I want to say, how many episodes have you had? 65? This is the first time I am actually officially overwhelmed, which doesn't happen with me. So I love it. Yani, I'm outgunned, overwhelmed. I'm going to call your daughter's therapist. I need to see him. It's not about abandonment by evaluation. It's all coming out. يعني, for sure. Give me his number. I'm going to finish here. I'm going to go meet him.
Okay.
بس اتفضلي حضرتك.
It was like we like drama, obviously. So we
لا.
took the newspaper. So we got the newspaper. We asked for a meeting in this room with Paulette and her team, and that we just put the newspaper on the table. I said, "Now we're Bokja. Take it or leave it."
What a fantastic
I'll
story.
take it. It was a good moment.
What
it
a
was
fantastic
a good moment.
story. You know, I was telling you earlier, We're talking about Nada Dibs as another design icon that I'm very proud of.
And we are proud of her.
Unbelievable. And you guys have really reached iconic status. The work is timeless. But I am very interested to understand the evolution of the brand, because you come from this very big statement, bold statement that you made with your early work. How do you sustain that? I mean, how does it not become dated? You know, doesn't become passé, doesn't become too much.
It's very funny you mentioned this.
Yeah.
Because many people coming now to us, they want our older pieces.
دي النقطة. How do you keep reinventing yourselves? It's very, very difficult, 24 years later. With strong pieces, yani, this is not, you know, minimalist design that can sort of easily float over 20, 30 years. This is big statements, and we're going to talk about the politics of it in a minute. How do you keep reinventing yourself? What's the formula?
I think the storytelling part is a big factor. Two, those pieces, when we started, we were working with textiles that were around for 100 years. So putting them out there in a contemporary take.
Yeah, and now about sustainability is a big thing.
Exactly.
It wasn't at the time.
It wasn't at the time. Now, I mean, looking at a chair with all textiles, I mean, there's nothing like it. It draws you in.
But you've gone beyond furniture now.
No, we've done. But, you know, I think if I also want to answer it, since we're talking about psychology now, I think it's ego and boredom. Because our ego would not allow us to repeat ourselves, both of us, and we challenge each other a lot, which is also being two. So we want to even impress each other, and also there is the fact that if I don't want to see it, why would anybody want to see it anymore? So I want to be part of something that keeps me excited.
And you want to be part of the conversation, right?
And then because also, but
I don't part of the zeitgeist, which really you have done in many ways.
No, but because, you know, with time, it became our voice. And when it is a voice, it changes because things are happening to this voice.
And Lebanon doesn't give you a break. There are always things to talk about. I mean, there are always issues. The Arab Spring gave us endless material. But let me... Back to your question. Sorry, Hashim.
إنه بدك تحكي
Hashim, I have to...
لا إذا أحكي زين. I'm here to watch the show يعني. بتهزري؟ أنا لو اتكلمت أنا أول مرة في حياتي ما أقدرش أتكلم يعني أنا it has never happened.
You're not allowed to speak. So
I've never not spoken.
Can I speak, please?
لا اتفضلي حضرتك.
So there's this sofa that we...
I fully relate to the daughter in the abandonment issue. اتفضلي. Go ahead.
But I'm serious about the abandonment, by the way.
No, I'm sure she's right.
So
there's a lot to talk about.
This sofa that we did during 2011 and that Lee Idilkoot bought back then, you're telling me how does it survive the time?
Yes, the test of time.
The test of time. At the time, there was those migrants coming from Syria. Remember that time in 2011, things were falling apart.
Everywhere.
They're all coming to Lebanon.
Coming to Lebanon, to Egypt, to a lot of places.
But they came also with a lot of things, not only coming physically. They came with their machines, they came with their skills, they came with this superb things to say. We incorporated them in this language, in this voice, and we did this magnificent sofa that really had this very strong message about migration. We called it the Migration Series. We put it on a table with wheels, with a drawer inside it, with wings to allow them
I remember it made a lot of waves.
And then we put Syrian cross-stitch on pillows. We wrapped it on the back of it with wrappings. So she bought it and she incorporated it in an exhibition that she did in Germany. And
you had that sofa with the tires and that took everything with it. But I can't say much. I just want to understand, these political statements, were these subconscious or were they deliberate?
No, these are
because a lot of your work has a political message.
Yeah, wait. Can I answer to this?
Were you consciously making a statement, or were you just creating?
No, but you know, the thing is, first of all, I think I don't like to use the word politics. We live in a world. If you are engaged with the word, you speak politics, you speak social, you speak about everything.
You are commenting on current affairs.
And then we are commenting,
and we are part of what's happening.
You're part of the story.
and opening the conversation. When you have in your atelier embroiderers from Syria, Palestine, Egypt, Iraq, Sudan, and Lebanon,
Amazing.
It creates.
The subject is there.
It's there.
Yeah.
And then Arab Spring happened. So we had to talk about it. We had to hear them out. We took the artisans with us to the studio to record their voices. We took their images with us to Institut du Monde Arabe. So we discovered their opinion about it, and they were very conflicting opinions. But also when people are drowning in the sea, and because of this huge movement of migration, people leaving Syria, people leaving their country, you're not talking about it is a shame. Is a shame. And this is why, for me, this is not politics. This is pointing out something so painful happening. So talking about it is natural. It's not politics. And the fact that now Lebanese people are drowning in the sea makes it about, oh my God, this sofa, was it a premonition? What is it?
So is it a form of therapy for you?
Yeah.
I think so. Yani, your work is a form of therapy, right? You're expressing your current emotions over the years, and it's coming out, it's being poured out in your work, in fact.
But let me tell you, Hashim, it's not therapy as in, we acknowledge it. No, it is as in you go in, our world, the world of Bokja, you go in and you forget everything outside. And this has come very handy the last 7 years. Everything that's gone wrong has gone wrong in our country. You go and you leave all your problems outside, and we go in and we create. The act of, we create, and we have all those beautiful people working with us. And the issue at hand is the issue of the moment.
What gives you still the impetus to create in a very difficult situation? You've had situation, so your shops were closed. You know, the
destroyed.
The stores. The city practically burned down.
Yeah.
You know, what gives you today that energy to still keep going?
Listen,
it's a very, very difficult
for me,
environment.
it is. I don't know what would have happened to me personally if there was not Bokja.
Yeah,
Bokja saved me over and over again,
Akid.
financially, emotionally, and it saved me. I always felt, because we are 3 daughters in the family, so. And 1 child, Habib Elbi,
Child meaning boy.
One boy.
Hassan. Sorry, Hassan.
And so
Maskeen Hassan. He should go to the same therapist. I feel
he
Hassan
worked
should.
with us for the first 3 years.
Yeah.
And one day they had an interview with him, and he kept using, and it was on a TV, and he kept using the word crazy, crazy, crazy. And we edited him and said, stop saying this, don't say crazy on TV. Anyway, so
God bless Hassan.
God bless Hassan. So, but I really felt the need, to be heard.
Yeah, it's obvious.
And so it's obvious.
No, I'm saying it in a good way. I'm not being cynical about it. You have something to say. You want to say it. You want to express it.
Yes.
You're both vocal
Let's
about
hope.
it. Now, how does it work?
She comes from a family of 4 girls.
Hassan.
And the Hamoudi.
And the Hamoudi is.
And who?
A Hamoudi.
Oh, there is a Hamoudi? So the Hassan and Hamoudi get together?
They should, actually.
They really should.
They should.
Our
I feel there'll be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I think they should. You're
Should I?
right.
I suggest you invite Hassan Hamoudi.
Let's do this, Huda.
I'm happy to broker
Maybe
this
I
on the
think they
lighthouse.
like each
High
other.
time.
High
Should
time.
I?
But I want to tell you about how therapeutic the work is. So once I had a painful episode in my life. I think the collection, excuse me, Reality Fantasy is a Must, saved me. When we had August 4, we created silence. And it was, we were mute. For once, we had no words. So it was something to see Bokja girls with no words, but we created something that carried this. And then when we wanted to get out of it, to help ourselves heal, we created Sound of Music. So that's how...
What about the monkeys?
The monkeys
Yeah.
now it takes a much stronger dimension, because the world is walking in its head. Everybody's angry.
It's very, very acute. And
and then you look at those wise monkeys. They don't want to speak. They want to talk. They don't want to see. And look what's happening environmentally, politically, wars.
And by the way, you were way ahead of the curve, because now there's like an NFT. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
That the apes. So you were like so ahead of that.
You're
a much cooler version of the apes, by the way. The board yacht club, is it?
Thanks.
It really is much edgy, much cooler.
But the trick is here. We always talk about those loaded issues. we express them. I think the trick is we always have a quirky way of producing everything. So, and that I think, so not to mislead your listeners, it's not just about the emotional connection. It's also about thanks to the skills of the workers that we have,
Definitely.
thanks to the beautiful workmanship, thanks to our how we finish the piece. I think it comes out aesthetically, I feel, quirky.
Yeah, and we don't
Yes.
need to shove it in anybody's face. So if it's personal or social or anything, you can buy it just because it's pretty, and you don't need to hear the story. And we're not gonna pursue you with the story.
Sorry to interrupt you. I always feel that's the best work, right?
Yeah.
Where if you want to buy just for the aesthetics, go ahead. If you want the message and that matters to you, that's great as well.
You know-
but it can be either or. It has that
Totally.
versatility. And I feel a lot of your work has that. It's beautiful aesthetics. So I could buy a chair, not necessarily care so much about the story, or I'm very much want the story with
Yeah,
it. And
if you
that's
want
a
to-
great
if you-
attribute of your brand.
You know, we learned
I
it
feel
because when
that's
we
what makes a bookshop.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
what makes it so powerful.
Not only powerful, I feel, and the fact that we reinvent this aesthetic, we have something about, I mean, we feel the trend before it becomes
Yeah.
mainstream, and we put it out there.
Why? do you
But we
think
don't
you
want to
feel
take
it's
ourselves too seriously. This is very
no,
important.
not at all. It's just
Yeah.
a fact. I mean, I feel.
No, then it becomes
And-
heavy.
Yeah.
You know, what the adjective that describes us best for me is we like to be provocative. We like to provoke. We like to be. Let's talk about something. This is why we call it. Let's talk about the weather. It's to be engaged in a conversation, but. The symbol is there. You can see it or not. When we would be presenting our work and clients will come, sometimes they ask and they will listen, and we love to tell the story. But I've had many times when I would start to tell the story, I've said, "It's fine. We like it. You don't need to convince us. Like, I'm buying it."
Yeah.
So the story is irrelevant to them, and
Yes.
I can totally respect
fine
that.
with that.
Yeah.
Where do you go from here? What are your aspirations? You have been in business for 24 years. You've reached an amazing level of success and recognition globally as a design brand. Where do you take it from here?
To be honest, it's not a worry. It's not something we worry about.
Okay.
However, yesterday we were sitting with a lady who used to work with us, and we were talking about where we are now and where we're going. And she mentioned something that made me think. She said, the problem with you girls is that the company is doing well, everything's going according to plan. It's just that you and Maria are not sustainable in the sense that if you leave, the company can go with us. And it kept...
You are so much part of the brand.
We're so much part of the brand.
It's kind of a high-class problem to have, but it's something you have to be recognized.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we have tried
To divorce it from you as a...
yeah, I mean, on Instagram, I mean, it's only recently that we've been showing our faces. On Instagram, we try to
صح.
put the brand
حتى on your website.
on the front.
يعني it's-
Yeah, it's always about the brand. And we created this technique and this kind of technique that's really unique to us. The assemblage, the stitches, the embroidery that falls on top of it. There's a layer to our technique. And I think moving forward, we need to have more workshops. We have to share more. We're already sharing a lot with friends of ours. There's this girl who started an NGO called Creative Space. We already share our embroiderers with her.
Can you see the brand sustaining itself without you as a...
I think we have now a team of young designers working with us. It's the first time that we had this luxury. And we see how with time they're
Absorbing the
speaking
brand.
Bokja.
Yeah.
And they would say, "Oh, this is not us." When they started saying this is not us,
You
we knew
understood
that
that
we're
they-
on the right track. So the more this we can fortify this, because Bokja is about a value system. So we want that value system to survive and the aesthetics, but the value of Bokja are very much embedded in everything we do. We try to ask ourselves the right question, and we will never be creating something just for this because it's trending or because it can sell or just because it's what everybody's doing. We need to ask the right question. We need to be more mindful about how we do it, the process. We want to push for sustainability as much as we can, and do our, if we can influence a certain outcome, then we would have achieved our goal. And to have, we see in the younger generation this desire to join us because of what we stand for. And that for me is huge.
Thank you. This was great. Congratulations on, honestly, a fantastic brand you've built. You should be very proud of yourselves. And we are very proud of you. I don't
You're
think
adorable.
we've seen many design brands, Arab brands that have flourished and been so honest to the values of the brand. And you've been able to do that consistently for 24 years. That's not nothing. And you're still together, which is also quite amazing. Therapy notwithstanding. We'll talk about this offline. No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This has been great.
Hashem, this has been great, actually. Much nicer than I thought.
Alhamdulillah. Well done. I'm glad. Thank you for joining us on the Lighthouse Conversations with me, Hashem Montasser, and my accidental hosts, Huda and Maria. We're produced by Chirag Desai, and our content director is Farah Al-Sharif. You can connect with us on Instagram at thelighthouse_AE and listen to our previous episodes by visiting thelighthouse.ae/podcast. Or just press the follow button on any podcast player, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Rami, you name it. We'll see you again in 2 weeks.